Alright, everybody, we are back with Ashen Trials Week 3. We've got Oboy versus Mercy Ghoul on the Ormond Lake Mine. My name is Emerald. I'm joined by Amy today. Mercy is a tough team to go up against. They've got some names, but like I said before, it is DBD, so it's anyone's game. Amy, are you excited? What do you think we have in store today?
Oh, I am very excited, Emerald. Thank you for passing it on. We're going to be seeing, like you mentioned earlier, a ghoul set, and ghoul sets are always a little bit volatile in the way that they play out. There's a lot of injuries on the board, a lot of chances for the survivors to get slugged on bad parts of the map, and hook states really matter in these kind of sets, since the stronger the survivors, the more difficult it is for the ghoul to be able to get those downs. Because at the end of the day, after you get the first hit, with an injury, you do have to play a basic M1 game. So we are going to see it start off right off the bat, and we are going to see that classic M1 gameplay beginning.
Great, we've got Merch here on the killer going after Daimo, our first chase here. He's got a loop with a window and a pallet. We'll see the drop on the pallet and the blind. We see Champion of Light coming in, trying to slow down those killers. The killers decided, nope, I don't want to take that chase. I want to potentially protect a gen setup that I have over here. And if we do have a main gen, which we do, we have a great setup here for the killer with the 3 gen, and that's exactly where he wants to take the chase.
Oh yeah, we are seeing RV try to not get injured here. Very good decision making. The fact that we can't get the injury off there actually decently wastes a decent amount of time. Sure, it might be just a couple of seconds, not of us not being able to get the injury, but those seconds add up throughout the match. And I think we're just gonna go for a basic M1 here, which is not really that great for the ghoul, since you kind of want to stay in your enraged state as long as possible. This is starting off very decently well for the survivors.
Yeah, we saw the Nancy, I believe it's Francesco, just popped a totem, but it was not, in fact, the Ruin. We could be seeing a inner focus or inner strength play coming in, just kind of getting that ready. Ghoul looking around for survivors, does hear main active. But yeah, I mean, he's getting a few injuries on the board, but if he doesn't get it down pretty quick, I would say for a relatively strong character here, the survivors are doing a great job of delaying that first down. And while there might be some injuries on the board, there's also a good amount of gen progress. So if I were the killer, I'd maybe start worrying a little bit, but we'll see what happens here.
Worrying a little bit is a very, very good observation, since at this point in the game, most teams do, in fact, probably have 2 gens on the board with decently high prog. Of course, we are going to still see these chases play out as usual, with our Nancy playing very, very well around tiles. Now this has become a 50-50, which is a little risky for the survivor to try and play out. And okay, we're actually just staying at the vault, and oh, unlucky. Unfortunately losing the 50 there, but doing a really good job wasting as much time as possible. Now this is going to be our first PR on the board, and it seems like our survivors here are probably just doing these gens as much as possible. Yeah, we are. Actually, I'm a little surprised the fact that we're not seeing a little bit more gen prog here from our survivors. But you know, sometimes on a map like Ormond, it's a little more tricky sometimes to be able to coordinate.
Yeah, and it's such a tight map, you know, compared to, let's say, you know, sometimes schools played on Blood Lodge, whereas this map's a little bit tighter. So I think the survivors, what they did is they opted to reset instead of going for the gen pressure, because now we see all those survivors are healthy once again, and they can now feel a little bit more confident in chase. Gonna see the blind here, going for Daimo again. Daimo had a great first chase. Gonna take the M1 here, yeah, most likely. And again, there you go, the survivors just making sure to confirm those M1s instead of those power hits. And just great patience, really knowing when and where to, you know, make the vault. We saw in the previous pallet, Nancy taking all the time that she had to get over that pallet. Great patience, and the same from Daimo. We're going to get another PR. Killer's getting the RNGesus seems to be on Merch's side today, because all these downs are happening right next to these scourge hooks, so he does have that going for himself right now.
Yeah, and we do see another. Wait, did we see that survivor? Okay.
I
was, yo, I saw that survivor out of the corner of my eye, and I was just curious if our killer was going to see them as well. Maybe missed it a little bit, but that's actually really important. I think the Nancy was trying to get rid of the totem, and you know, we mentioned gen progress earlier. Both of us, Emerald, and I think the Ruin actually has gotten really, really good value this entire game, since it's been active for all of this start. And the fact that it has been active for this long means that even if it's cleansed now, it's already done its job of slowing the basically the start, because we have no gens popped with 3 stages. This is absolutely excellent from the Ghoul.
Yeah, totally. And we do see our first gen pop right there. But as for the start of the game, you probably would have expected at least, like you said earlier, Amy, 1 or 2 gens, right, for the amount of chases that are going on. But we're only going to see 1 gen. So as far as the Ghoul's concerned right now, not in a terrible position. You've got somebody on Death Hook right here. Not that a lot of pressure is going on right now. You could honestly, if you were comfortable with it, and this is exactly what the killer is doing, circling back to that hook and sort of proxying, or at least even potentially face camping. We'll see if the V goes for the unhook, and they do in fact go for the unhook here just to get that out of the way, because the other survivors are likely on gens. We do see Jake on gen, but if they're not going to get the save there, then that save may not happen. So I totally respect the plan. I see where it's going. However, the fact is that the Ghoul is going to be able to get a tunnel out pretty quick, kind of taking the game back into his hands here. A potential tunnel out at 4 gens.
Oh yeah, this is a very scary situation for our survivors, because this against Ghoul on something like Ormond Lake Mine, there's so many opportunities for Ghoul players to be able to get downs. And as I mentioned, it's just tight corridors all around. Your pathing on Survivor needs to be so strong to be able to sometimes dodge the Ghoul hits, and unlucky for our survivors. And oh! Never mind. We got a hero here playing for the flashlight save. That was actually so beautiful. You know, if I was the killer myself, I would have gotten so jump scared by that. And oh no, a little bit of an unfortunate vault into the window, but we're still going to try and play this mid filler. We're going to break and just playing it safe, not trying to take too much risk. Oh, Emerald, I'm on like the edge of my seat if these survivors are able to keep their tunnel out alive.
Yeah, I mean, they've done a pretty good job so far. You know, we saw V really conveniently body block on one of the tiles there, and we see another hit coming in from Daimao, the Taeyong, but unfortunately the Nancy is going to go down here, and due to the fact that the survivors are taking hits, once again, we're not really seeing any gen pressure for that other than the gen that Jake's on. We'll probably see a reset for the 3v1 as, there it is, as it comes in, but yeah, well, still nonetheless, great flashlight save. As a killer player myself, I'm always like, behavior, can we make the survivors a little bit louder? I don't know, but maybe that's just me. So I can totally see where Merch was coming from. Like, there was absolutely no sign of Daimao being there, but also great stealthing. We're gonna see this pallet a little unsafe here on the top of main, and gonna get another M1. Then we're gonna start patrolling our gens. We see Jake here. We have an opportunity to get everyone injured on the board here, and we do in fact do that with the Blight. And we're gonna go ahead and kick the gen, and oh, the blast mine.
Wow, this is really snowballing in the favor of the Ghoul. You know, the fact that our Ruin stayed alive for so long, Eruption has gotten excellent value from the downs, Pain Reses have been right next to where the Ghoul is whenever we've gotten those downs. This is like, I feel like if you're the Ghoul player, this is like your dream scenario, you know, having a tunnel out at 4 gens, getting another down on a fresh, getting your Eruption value once again, and also deciding to slug for the snowball. Wow, honestly, I have to give props to the Ghoul player for having just excellent game sense, right? They could have, like, there's a lot of times where we've seen even in this league where sort of killers commit a little too hard, long to just 1 or 2 chases, and that leads to them, like, losing even 2 gens, or the survivors get a free reset. But our Ghoul player's been fantastically moving around the map, exactly knowing where the gens are going to be pressured, and not allowing these survivors to feel safe on literally anything, because they are very quickly pre-dropping and trying to play safe as much as possible. But this Ghoul is just not allowing it. And I mentioned how our Ghoul player is very smart, not losing the 50s, and yeah, we're deciding to pick because there's no gen prog anymore anywhere on the map. Beautiful stuff from our Ghoul.
Yeah, we might see a pain res here that doesn't actually... Oh no, we do see a little bit of progress that gets deleted with that pain res. No, I totally agree. I think that the Ghoul is a killer that has a lot of mobility. Obviously, you know, we're keeping that in mind when we're playing this character, and he knows... I was hoping that after he got that down in sort of the... not the basement, but that sort of lower area, that he would go ahead and slug, and he has gone ahead and done that, and now he's got so much pressure, especially in the 3v1. This killer is hard to deal with alone in the 4v1, but now the 3v1 even more detrimental, and he's got pain res, and he's got eruption, and he's got those injuries. So survivors are definitely going to start feeling the pressure now, and the Ghoul kind of has the opportunity to do whatever they want to do here.
Oh yeah, definitely we are free to basically just chase whoever we want, right? All our survivors are injured. None of them are going to be able to play unsafe on anything. And wow, I actually expected that to hit. A little bit of a, unfortunately we might have to take the exit lag off of that one. And wow,
Ooh.
2 miss swings into a flashlight. That has got to burn. But I mean, I'm sure our Ghoul player is not really worried since most likely, I'm going to assume that the survivors, I was going to say, I'm assuming they're going to reset at 99, but we're deciding to just stick to the gens. This is not a terrible game plan, but honestly, at this point, I think you just, if you're the survivors, you have to accept the fact that you're not going to get outs anymore, right? You're at three survivors, all injuries. Basically, you all need to reset and then just play as low as possible to try to pop anything, because the more that you try to play risky like this, staying injured, the more you risk that you're not even going to be able to pop a single gen with how well our Ghoul player has been playing. And if this is a down on main, this is really, really bad luck for them.
Yeah, and this is going to be eruption on both the gen at Shack and the main gen. And I totally agree. I would have expected the reset to come in, or at least a double, but we're actually seeing split gens here, which might actually, in fact, be the right play because I think they're playing for one more gen. Like you said, Amy, I think that they know they're not going to get too much more. Killer's got this game in their pocket, so I think the best they can do is to maybe go for that one gen, and that would be a commendable effort here. We do see the pickup, though, come on Daimao. So we're once again going for that reset instead of the gen progress, trying to keep everyone alive as possible. I have to say, despite being in the situation they're in, these survivors are using what's left on the map really well. I mean, we saw their V just using a mound of snow to try and, kind of block the path of the Kaguni leap. Very well, you see these experienced players, they have awareness of the map that is beyond just the pallets, beyond just the windows, and using every little obstacle because of their knowledge base on that killer.
Oh yeah, we are seeing another chase onto another survivor right after we just got our slug. So I think this is probably match point for the survivors in terms of how long they're able to stay alive. I was going to mention that there's really nothing much left on the map anymore after we broke so many of those fillers and pallets. And now we are finding our Jake, and this is most likely going to be a 4K 4, which is extremely impressive from the Ghoul player. So much pressure build up throughout the match. So well played on the M1 chases. Oh, I'm not sure if we meant to do that, if we meant to grab the survivor with our power, since that gives them an opportunity to get up from the ground now. But I mean, I don't believe that's going to be that big of a deal anymore, since probably we're just going to get the down just as quick as we got the pickup. And yeah, this is looking like a 4K4.
Yeah, it's the age-old game of the end game slugging and DBD with strong killers. Yeah, we'll get the pickup, but it only delays the inevitable. And we're going to see that 4K4 come in. What a play by Merch. We're going to see a bit of a nodders. I believe they're happy with their result, and they should be. That is a great result, even for the Ghoul. Really, really well done on the pressure, and just at all times really knowing where they stand in terms of gen progress, injuries, chases, etc. And they had, like I said, DBD, it's anyone's game. The beginning of the game seemed a little bit more on the survivor side. I don't know if you would agree, Amy, but it turned around for the Ghoul, and they should be very pleased with their result going into the next match. All you have to do on the survivor side is pop 2 gens, and that means you don't need to worry about the 3 gen, which is always a relief.
Oh yeah, I like the fact that you mentioned that for the win con, we don't have to worry about a 3 gen, since usually on Ghoul sets, we see the 3 gen scenario happen so often, right? Like, it's usually within the mid map, around Shack as well, because usually it's really easy for someone like Ghoul to contest 3 gens on that side of the map rather than something around main. Since something around main means that the survivors are able to kind of dictate the pace a little bit more on where they take the good hits and injuries, whereas if it's more near Shack and you've already gotten rid of all the resources, there's almost nothing they can run to. So really, really well done by our Ghoul again. We're seeing an amazing win con, and we'll be right back with the next game. See you in a bit.
Back with the second trial here in Ashen Trials of Oboy versus Mercy. Merch showing a dominant win with the Ghoul at a 4K4, so these survivors are likely feeling pretty confident going in to this match. We have hope though on Killer. He'll be trying to bring it back for his team. Very steep win con. as I was mentioning in the previous trial, these survivors don't even need to worry about a 3-gen, which is usually very crucial in a Ghoul set. They've just got to pop those 2 gens, so we'll see what happens. I'm joined by Amy. My name is Emerald. Amy, take it away.
Hey, thanks, man, for passing it on. And yeah, as mentioned before, we did see Mercy on the Ghoul last time, and now the Mercy survivors are on the board. I am very curious to see if their survivors will be able to play as well as their killer did. But I mean, with the teams such as Mercy, I'm sure they'll be able to meet it. But hey, I always say, never count out your killers on win cons, no matter who the team is, because even in this league, we've said, wow, that's a steep win con, and then somehow the killers make it work. So sometimes you can just pull stuff out of your bag, or the survivors can mess up. DBD is such a volatile game in general that's why I feel it's exciting to watch in the first place. You know, something crazy can just come out of existence sometimes when you play well as killer, and I think that's pretty cool. So we are going to see a slightly different build. No Ruin this time. We're taking the Nan, and I think the Nan is actually a great perk for Ghoul. But the thing is, with this win con, I think Ruin to slow the game down earlier might have been better, but either way, it's not a bad build. It's just, to be fair, like, no matter what the perks are, win con might just be like that difficult to meet, you know?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. DBD, that's why we love this game. That's why we love coming back to comp every day, because you just never know. And we're going to see something really interesting in this game, which is a much quicker down. Steep win con, but a much quicker down. We got the pain res, so I think the killer can feel relatively confident. I mean, you can never expect anything, but getting that quick down is really going to give them the confidence boost that they needed. And we could... Ooh! That's really unlucky. I believe the intention there was to block the ace after he vaulted, but unfortunately the Ghoul ended up vaulting. But what we're likely going to do here is we're probably going to go for the tunnel out. We got a very, very early hook. Honestly, I am a little surprised the killer didn't just kind of sort of stay around the hook, but I know the reason they did that is because they're worried about those gens, and they can't lose even 2 gens. So I think in a normal scenario with a little bit less of a steep win con, I would be camping that hook as much as I can since it was that early, but I totally see where the play comes in from Hope here due to the fact that they can't lose those gens. We're going to see another down here, relatively quick again. These chases are being played very well by the killer, and we're going to see another Bane res.
Oh yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned how well the killer is playing, because despite this win con, I mean, like you mentioned, the downs are so fast. They're really using the Ghoul power to be able to pressure on the map, like literally the same as what we saw last time. It's just so hard, right? Because like, who do you chase here, right? You have 4 survivors on the board. You cannot let 2 gens pop, and like, no matter who you chase on what side of the map, you already know the survivors are going to be on the other end. And you can't just play for injuries either. Otherwise, the survivors will just keep resetting, since they can realistically just play it slow. They do not have to like increase the pace that much. I think what a lot of teams falter on sometimes is they know they have a good win con, so they pressure more of the gens than they usually would of playing safer. And sometimes, ironically enough, that leads to their downfall. But either way, these survivors are very quickly pulling, and I do think that is actually the correct play, since our Ghoul player is just forced to go back no matter what. We cannot leave the survivors alive, since they're probably just going to do these gens injured, especially because something like this, Shack is extremely safe, even if you get caught off guard on being injured.
Yeah, the survivors right now, what they want to do is split the Ghoul between the map and try to pressure on all different angles so that there's just nothing that they can do. They can't... Unfortunately, the Ghoul does have several tentacles, but they cannot be in 2 places at once. Unfortunately, they're not the Knight, so that's not going to be possible for them. So if the survivors are just splitting the pressure across the map, you know, despite the killer's power, there isn't too much they can do. But I, like, you know, as you mentioned as well, it can be easy to just, like, sort of lay down and be like, okay, this is impossible, I'm not going to win this. But I really have to commend Hope for getting in there and doing their best despite that steep win con. And it shows a lot of resilience from them. We have a hook here in the middle, sort of potential camping opportunity here as well, but seeing a little bit pressure here from the Lara. Gonna take chase onto our survivor that we've already hooked. Oh, unlucky, not getting the ping hit there that they were potentially going for, and we're gonna go back to the hook to attempt to potentially camp this out to 3rd stage. I think if we get the survivor dead here, there actually might be a potential in the 3v1. What do you think, Amy? Do you agree?
Oh yeah, 1000%. I checked earlier on the Survivor prog. It's not like we had crazy prog yet on any of these gens, so this is actually looking like it could be snowball potential. But what we need to do is get quick downs. We need to not allow the survivors to waste any bit of time. Like we've seen the chases go down, 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 and we need to keep that pressure up. If we have even one single bad chase here, that could be really bad for the Ghoul. But oh my gosh, beautiful down.
Oh,
But unfortunately, that is good. I'm assuming that's just a straight loss, right? If 2 gens have popped, because our win con was 4k4, yeah. So, wow. I have to. I'm glad we commended Hope earlier because, like, even though that win con was so difficult, dude, imagine if this was a regular win con. That would have been absolutely fantastic from Hope. Like, you know?
yeah, totally. I mean, look at this. He's got a hook, and he's gonna get the 4K too. I mean, really, you know, you were mentioning how there wasn't too much pressure on the map. Where did it come from? That's how I always feel as a killer. But great job on the survivors to get that pressure in, to get that win con. But like you said as well, great job from Hope here, giving it all they can. And yeah, I mean, they're about to get the 4K too, which is not a bad result in general on the killer side too. Like you said, if you walk away from this and it was a regular win con, I would not be upset with my result here. So, great match. Really had a great time watching it here, and well played from both sides.
I know, like, honestly, like, the downs were, you mentioned even earlier, that was so much quicker than what we've seen, even on the last game. And I think, I think one of the things that we, also, I just want to mention how funny this is that we're looking at. Like, I was like, is the spectator bugged? No, our Ghoul player is just deciding to, like, celebrate a little bit with the tentacles, bro. We're just going for a little bit of a hip hip hooray. Fair enough.
He's trying to give them hugs.
I'm just saying, man. I'm not a big fan of tentacles, so I don't know if I'd want a hug from this Ghoul, but you know, maybe to help our player who did such a fantastic job keeping the resilience up. But either way, I was going to mention earlier that yeah, our Ghoul player played really well, and I think one of the really good things that both these killers actually did is because this is a more aggro build, right, rather than something that you want to pressure a little bit more, like. With Than, Eruption, Pain Risk, Corrupt, like, our Ghoul player did a really good job of deciding to not necessarily, like, spread out pressure that much, but he was just going for, like, down after down after down to get value from our perks as much as possible. Whereas, like, before, because we had Ruin, our killer was deciding to play, like, spread out a lot more, since that Ruin value gives them so much time to just waste in the early game. That is probably why we saw quicker downs on here. So, both these killers like really leaning into their builds is what you love to see. And as we mentioned, if the win con was just easier for the school, I'd like to imagine that this set could have gone completely differently.
Totally, and I like that you mentioned the builds. Oh, we're looking at the Ghoul's feet here. We're stuck in the middle of the map here. Orman said, "No, you cannot end this trial. We're keeping you. We like you." But no, the Ghoul was able to get out of the snow. There it was a bit of a snowy day. School would have been canceled for sure. But the Ghoul's out and he's going to look for that last slug. But yes, I like that you mentioned the builds. You know, yes, there are perks that are traditionally better. You know, we've all seen the tier lists. We've all had the discussions. You know, your pain reses, your eruptions, your sprint bursts, etc. are those top tier perks. But it really does matter how you play, and that is certainly what the Ghoul players today were considering, and therefore, yeah, maybe Thana could have been swapped out for Eruption or Ruin or Pop or, you know, whatever it is that it is. But this is how this player plays, and he's going to gear his build towards that, which is not a bad choice at all. We're going to see the Ghoul get his little snack. So despite the loss, we're going to get the meal. So good for him. It's going to be Mercy taking the first set today.
And excited to see what happens when we remain on the same killer. So in terms of our player here. So we'll be right back with a quick intermission.
Are back with Oboy versus Mercy. We are now on the second set. We have the Blight on Suffocation Pit, a fan favorite for many comp players, a great 3-gen set, a great opportunity to show skill. We have Daimo on the killer for Oboy up against the Mercy survivors. We're going to see a pallet drop immediately. Definitely want to delay that first hit as much as possible. Maybe not as much as in an Oni set, but certainly Blight can get a quick down, so we want to try and delay that. Pallets coming down. My name is Emerald. I am joined once again by Amy. Amy, how are you doing today? We've had one really exciting set, and we're back for hopefully another one.
Oh yeah, we are definitely in for another exciting set. You know, I gotta say, I really appreciate that both these teams decided on very, very fun killers. You know, Ghoul is explosive, and personally, Blight is one of my favorite sets because there's always things happening, right? The Blight is always pressuring servers. Servers always have to play extremely safe against the Blight. Skill against on both sides can be shown a lot. If survivors play very, very safe around tiles, then it's very, very expressive for the servers. And if the killer knows every single bump logic on Blight, it can look devastating for them. So both sides have a lot of opportunity to show what they're made of, and we are seeing a little bit of a zone from our killer here. I just would like to mention too that we're having a little bit of a weird build since Call of, I believe that's Eruption and Call of Brian, if I'm not incorrect.
Yes, correct. Yep.
But you don't usually see thrilling on this set. Like I don't think I've seen a thrilling on a killer in, I want to say, like forever. So and not usually something you see on Blight, since on Blight you usually see either totems if they're allowed, something like classic Ruin, or you see the more traditional Infectious Fright, which is something that Pedro popularized because he's always running Infectious for the quick downs and the pressure for more information. So I wonder how much value something like thrilling is going to give us here.
Totally. And we also sometimes see Dying Light, just to get a little bit of slowdown from the Blight, since he's got so much pressure, you know. Doesn't always need it, but a little slowdown is helpful. What I noticed was interesting is the survivors playing to the 4-gen, it seemed like, because on this map, and I was mentioning this a little bit last time because the last matches I had casted also happened to be a Blight set, but Stuffo can be a little bit of an illusion because you've got the 3-gens on both sides. Sometimes when you pop the 3-gen, oh, the killer just swaps to the other side. But there's also a 4-gen, and what these survivors did, which was very smart, is they ran away not necessarily from the 3-gen, but from that 4-gen top side. And now, also really great dead hard there. But what we see now is that the map is split even more strategically for the survivors. And we're going to stay on this bottom side. Ooh, unlucky, we're going to miss the tree there. You know, those bumps can be a little bit, those hitboxes can be a little bit tricky. But yeah, survivors once again play into that 4-gen, which is very, very smart for them. Not to get, you know, tricked into that 3-gen potential. And despite having not really many resources, Doc, you know, we know Doc's made a name for himself throughout the comp community, showing exactly why he has done that with another great chase.
I just have to mention how beautiful pathing Doc was doing there, right? Played Shaq perfectly, instantly dropping the pallet, knowing that against Blight, Shaq is very, very dangerous if Blight knows what they're doing. So we just instantly dropped it, sent it to sides where the Blight has trouble bouncing off of, and 2 stages on the board at 2 gens with possibly another one on decently high prog from the serves is absolutely fantastic. And look at this beautiful gen split too. We do have a 3-gen on near main, I believe. No, I'm incorrect actually. There's 2 gens on top, two gens on the bottom side. Like this is literally the perfect split. The Blight can no longer hold any sort of 3-gen, and it was absolutely well played from the serves as well. With, I can't even blame our, obviously our killer had a little bit of trouble downing the survivor on our tunnel out, and that wasted so much time. But realistically, even if we try to pressure other stuff, like not on Blight, you almost always want to chase your tunnel out. It's very rare you see that you want to be able to play for like stages, because this killer can very easily 4K with quick downs. But I mentioned before that skill expression on both sides can really show, and the survivors absolutely doing a beautiful job dodging all of these hits and perfectly playing around every tile. Even when we had no resources, Doc was using everything to their advantage. And I mean, we see it again from Ace getting another flare. Like, I can't believe what I'm seeing.
Yeah, you would have thought this was a Demogorgon set with the amount of stages compared to the amount of gens. Not because of the killer's fault, but just because of the excellent play from the survivors. They're getting those flares, and they're getting those, like you said, without resources, getting those long chases. We do see the tunnel out potentially coming in. But at this point, you know, you've still got a couple of resources since they were able to get those gens done so fast. You've got a lot of resources around bottom mid here. I believe you still have Shack. You still have maybe a pallet 3. You've got everything you could probably need for now. And winning the 50, Doc is just playing out of his mind here today. They're getting all those gens done, and there's not really much the killer can do at this point. They might be able to get hopefully 2 kills if they get this hook up fast. They might be able to go for that second hook, but the survivors are gonna know that that's probably the goal of the killer. They're gonna get on those gates immediately and stealth over there. So let's see if we see a 2K or we see the 3 men out. Just outstanding from Mercy.
Yeah, another fresh hook here would be really, really nice for the Blight, but this is already such a good result for the Mercy survivors. I mean, Doc as well, when I swapped over the cam, was just having like excellent positioning on camera, you know, checking every single check spot that is possible and knowing exactly what bump logic is on Blight. And another miss swing from... Oh, what the... Oh, okay, so I think we did have 99. That was actually so smart, 99ing it so the killer would not know. And thinking we would have gotten a free tag, but perfectly playing it. This is just excellent gameplay from the Survivors. We do get it down here on our Laura, but it is going to be one more fresh. But even one more fresh is really not that big of a deal for the Survivors. And against someone like Blight, who can very quickly pressure, I'm assuming they're going to take the outs, but it's really up to them if they want to play for this.
Yeah, some teams will go back because you know, it's a little bit of good practice if they know that if they're confident in the win con. But yeah, the safe and smart move would definitely just to be get out. But we do see Ace actually healing here outside of the gate, so that actually might be their potential plan, is to come back for this. I don't know if that's the right play here, just because the Blight's got so much mobility. They're gonna have to be really coordinated, but once again, they're Mercy, so I think... Oh!
Nah.
That was the Delhi survivor.
Wow. And
Wow.
earlier, like, Ace was right behind the rock. Like, I could hear him on my end, at least. That was actually crazy, the fact that our Blight just did it. If they just checked behind the rock, it would have been so bad. And now we are going to go for the gate near the tower. And, oh, no, we do get it down from our Blight near. And I'm assuming our survivors are just going to get forced out. Oh, no. This is kind of a bad hit. If we go down here, this is really, really bad for our survivors. But... what are we gonna play for?
It could be a bait too as well though, because sometimes, you know, these advanced survivors these people with experience are gonna know every little trick, and it could have been a bait. I'm not sure. I guess he knows that they're... Oh! Wow, really great find there on the Lara. We're probably gonna see the unhook and probably a 2-out escape here is what I would assume.
Oh!
Unlucky on the iframes there. They're certainly going to take outs here, no?
I think they have to, right? If we see 2 survivors at the gate, I think they will, yeah. Because our Blight can just go back and then force both survivors out. But if they manage to get the heal in time, then they... Oh, I mean, this hook is... Oh. Against Blight, though, this is a very terrible hook.
And it's not only... Yeah, see, there you go. But it's also the endgame timer. It's like they don't have time, even if they were to successfully do it. And I'm sure they could. There's just absolutely no way that they're going to have time for that. But we're going to see the 2K, I believe it was 7 stages 3 fresh.
I think you are correct. I think.
Yeah. I believe so. Yes. It's in 1, 2, 3. Oh, no. Yes. So, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we have our scoreboard here showing us a 7-3.
There we go.
So, yeah, I mean...
I'm gonna do math real quick. I'm a DVD player, so math is probably not my strength.
Trust me, I'm the one in university, and I still can't pass some of my classes, so I absolutely understand. And speaking of math, we'll see how all of these numbers add up once our next set comes in. So we'll be right back.
We are back for the second round of the Blight set. Oboy versus Mercy. Mercy showing another extremely confident run on Survivor. Another difficult win con for the Oboy killer. We've got for the Oboy survivors, apologies. We've got Outer on killer here on the Blight. Going and gunning for those kills. We're going to see the first chase. Ooh, a hit through a pallet. Always a great sign for the killer. Chase going up here at 11. I will say, though, that the survivor is taking the chase up into the corrupt area. That's exactly where he wants to die, if he is going to die. And it looks like he is probably going to be going down momentarily. My name is Emerald. as I have been for the last couple of games. I am joined by Amy. Amy, we see a very, very quick down here.
Oh yeah, definitely a very, very quick down. And speaking of quick stuff, we're already seeing our V Survivor finding one of the totems, but it will be Undying, and I mean, with a win con such as 7-3, this is going to be very, very difficult for the survivors to try and meet on Oboy, especially because that down was so quick. And I just want to say, we absolutely great gameplay from Outer, because on a tile like that, as Blight, the only really thing you can do to get the down with your power is a V1 tech. Otherwise, if you try to bounce off of the farther trees there, you will probably not get the down. So that's why Outer decided to just walk down our survivor. Very, very smart. And unfortunately, it might not even be possible, you know, in a couple, I think, days when the new patch drops with our new speed of Blight. So it will be a little harder in the future. But Outer taking an advantage of it right now, and our Adam does find the other totem. So very, very quick totem. I want to say like a disappearance. So yeah, we lost both, and now it's up to skill. It's up to skill.
His survivor is managing to stay a little bit alive for these first couple of swings here in this chase. Unfortunately losing the 50, but technically winning the 50. That was a weird experience there. We're gonna be taking chase down here into the bottom side. It looks like a really, really disgusting gen setup at the top side for the killer here, so not sure if he wants to extend all the way down here, especially going for a fresh hook, but I'm sure that he's feeling pretty confident having gotten that first down. Like you said in the previous set, this set here, this Blight set, is really about that tunnel out, and once again we're seeing not the case, the opposite case. Oh, good attempt on the locker there from Daimao, but unfortunately going to be going down. Seeing a little bit of progress from Adam there on most likely the top side, but not too much. So despite coming all the way down here and going for, once again, not the tunnel out, Outer's still sitting pretty right now.
Yeah, and I mentioned the last game as well that I mentioned that we didn't really see a, I guess, quote-unquote traditional build, right? Because I mentioned earlier that you don't really put Thrilling on Blight. It's not necessarily like a bad perk, but the issue is that you're counting on getting your downs extremely quickly, right? And if you're getting your downs extremely quickly, something like this build with Ruin, Undying, and Eruption is just way more value. And we've been seeing that value. Even though we lost our totems so quickly, that's exactly why we bring Eruption with totems. It's actually a fairly common thing in comp, because you're counting on your totems to be lost probably within the first gen or two, and Eruption gives you value throughout the entire game. Start, middle, end game, no matter what your totems are. And even if your totems are not cleansed and you won't get, like, Eruption value, I mean, if your totem's staying alive for the entire game, then you're already on a really, really good path to success. So shout outs to Outer for the excellent build choice, and we are going to still chase our Jake around main. I'm assuming we're just going to leave and not waste time on this chase, or if we are, we're probably just going to take the tag. But either way, I think a little bit of a misplay from our Jake here, since that was actually still... You could have probably jiggied a little bit for the safety, but unfortunately this is probably going to be another down onto Jake. Is this a 50s? Yes, this is 50s, but Hope doing everything they can to delay this down as much as possible.
Yeah, like you said, Eruption's sort of that get-out-of-jail-free card once the totems go, and survivors in comp, they know all of the totem spawns, so they're going to try and get those out of the way. Delaying the down here pretty well. We're seeing the survivors attempting to split the map, so they definitely have that strategy in mind. We are seeing sort of a top gen setup. We still have that gen sort of at 3 right there, and that 3 gen might be the gen to get next for the survivors, because that's going to split the map between the top and the bottom, so it's possible they are going for that. And the Blight seems to have some idea of that, checking around this, but we don't hear any progress. We don't see any progress, or at least I could be mistaken. But we're going to go ahead and pop that 4 gen, which is going to the gen add 4. Sorry, mistaken in case of any confusion. Which is going to make it 2 gens left, and however that 3 gen, like I'm saying, that gen at 3 right there is really the remaining split if they can get that one. We're seeing a great stealth from Francisco. He may have already been topside. Gonna get rid of that BT right away. A lot of killers will not wait the 15 seconds in this case if they've got a killer that's just so fast and they can get that down almost immediately. And that is what we're gonna do. We're gonna see that tunnel out. So with the build and with the approach, we're just seeing a lot more of a traditional strategy here from Outer, and it seems to be working in their favor.
Yeah, really smart decision to just smack that survivor right off the hook. I like how you pointed out that it's a little bit of I want to say a difference in killer gameplay. You know, like depending on your killer, depending on the circumstance, and oh, okay, a little bit of a jump scare with that pallet drop, but I just wasn't expecting that. That caught me really off guard. But
No, I get it.
either way, we still have, I believe, our 3-gen around this area. I think we did just pop something near main, but we still have this other mid-gen here on 9, I believe. So it really, or just on mid-map in general. So either way, we're kind of still chilling it for the Blight, and we're just playing for stages either way, if we're not even going for the 4K. So I think everything is fine. And wow, I think these hits have been, like, I think these hits are valid, but I think it's because of ping that we're not able to get them. So a little bit sad from the killer POV, because you already know, like, if you're the killer, like, you're probably yelling at your monitor being like, yo, that should have hit. But either way, Outer still deciding to check around. And another locker play. Is this head on? No, it's not. We just decided to hide in the locker. But I'm not sure if that was the good game place.
I also am not so sure about the locker play there, because I mean I could see that they thought that they were going to get hit there, so that was their only way to avoid it. But it seemed like they were pretty far away from the blighted killer. So I think that unfortunately led to them getting a hit there for free, sort of giving that hit away. And with DBD comp, it's every little moment, every little hit, it's really going to make a difference. As far as the 3-gen goes, it's not completely tight, but it looks like it worked out in the best way possible for Outer here, because it's sort of on the same vertical side of the map. And now we've got our pressure going, and again, Blight's that killer that can just get so much done in so little time. Same as sort of Ghoul, which is interesting that these two sets have been picked, as you mentioned before. We do see a pickup, but Survivor's not able to get too far away, and now we're going to see a hook. Oh, interesting. I would have expected him to maybe take the hook closer to the gen setup, but maybe just wants to get that hook in right away and then go for the pressure on the other survivors.
Oh yeah, especially because I think our killer also knows that we're just playing for stages, right? Like, obviously we want the 4K guarantees the win anyway, but getting the stages here is just like good as well. I would think that we're probably just going to try and hit this gen to slow down the prog and then pick up our survivor, most likely, since at this point, if we get another hook on the board, that's going to be 6 stages. But our killer deciding to play a little bit more aggressive and risky as well, since probably just looking for the tag, since if there's another injury on the board on our healthy survivor, no one can realistically go for the pickup. But they were 99ing their heal. Very well played. Unfortunately, we don't get the tag there, but I think if we find the survivor trying to go to this top these gens near main, then we are able to still steamroll the game in our position. And either way, looking really, really good for Outer.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong here, but was the Atom? No, he was not. Okay. I wonder if the Atom was able to be found there on the ground there. That would have been the last fresh that was needed. But instead, just trying to apply the pressure, which is also not an entirely wrong decision at all, of course.
Oh yeah, and I just want to point out there that was a miss that hard from V, our killer, perfectly knowing that most likely, because we haven't seen any sort of exhaustion on V, that it was going to be dead hard, since we saw, I think, Life and SB earlier on other survivors, so I think they just calculated that in their head. Oh, it's a little bit of an unlucky bump, and sometimes the hitboxes on Blight are a little weird, but we all put up with it because, you know, it's DBD. So it is what it is. But either way, we're going to be trying to play this safe filler here from V1 Tech. No, unfortunately, no V1 Tech. But that is going to get rid of another resource. But we're just deciding to take our tags. A little bit of interesting decision making from Outer, since traditionally you want to keep the survivors on that side of the map and then just get rid of resources. Ooh. But you know, if Outer's gonna get downs this quick, then I mean, maybe I should let him take the wheel, you know?
Yeah. I'm a little... I mean, I get where he's going for here. Another lucky with the dead hard. I would maybe just pick up the Atom and get that hook.
Oh.
But he just wants to go into the 2v1, so I understand his play. And I have to say, I do respect the cosmetic choice here. We've got the cat Blight. Love to hear those roars and those growls. It's always a fun time.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken,
go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, it's all good. I was gonna say, I think if I'm not mistaken, that's actually WinCon with that last hook on Because I think that's 8 stages.
I believe it's I think it's Tycon, no?
Well, I think either way,
One,
if
two,
we get the
three,
pickup
four,
on the
five,
other
six,
server.
seven. Yeah, I believe it's Tycon. But the slug is the slug is the win.
Ah,
Or any hook now is win.
all right, perfect. Well, I mean, with our last survivor remaining against Blight, it's most likely GG's.
It is GG's, but I have to commend the survivors once again. They got it down to a pretty average result here for the Blight, which is nothing to laugh at. And also, they've been really good on the stuns. I have to say, the Blight's been getting those stuns, kind of winning those 50s on the survivor side, but pressure is too much for them. And as I say that, of course, Caster curse and then proceeds to lose a mind game there. But really well done from the survivors despite the loss and bringing it to that 4K1. We're going to see Mercy take the win overall today, but great job from Oboy, great job from both teams. Love watching these fun and these intense sets.
Oh yeah, that was very very exciting to see. We're looking for our Adam here, and you know we've been seeing a decent amount of Moris on the set today, and it's not. I mean, Moris are always fun, and I always love seeing them, especially on Blight. This is a Mori I really like, especially with Cat Blight. You know, it just looks goofy. You know, like it's hard to take a little bit serious in this game, but it is what it is. Either way, that will actually be it for all the games today, I believe. Again, Emerald, I would just like to say thank you so much for casting with me today. It was quite a thrilling amount of games and a little bit of pink shenanigans at the end there. Do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, thank you so much, and I would extend the same gratitude to you, man. It was a blast to cast with you. Thank you, everyone on the Twitch, for watching today. Congratulations to both teams. I'm looking forward to the next games, in the coming week. And that is all from me. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you once again, Twitch. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.